Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls, guess who's back? The man, the myth, the legend, the Noobfridge. I'm here on MMO Bomb. Hit the subscribe button down at the bottom if you haven't already. Today we're talking about the new combat styles in Star Wars The Old Republic, as well as what's going on the public test server right now. So have a seat, strap in. This is going to be a long one as we try to clear up some of the confusion that BioWare put out there when they made their announcement. If you haven't heard already, Star Wars The Old Republic just recently announced their latest expansion that's coming up later this year in December for SWTOR's 10-year anniversary. It's called Legacy of the Sith. You should definitely head over to MMOBomb.com, check out all the latest on the expansion as a whole. But today we're going to be clarifying some things as far as what the new combat styles are that they're introducing to the game with this expansion, as well as talk about what is currently on the PTS in the Jedi Guardian with some of these features implemented as far as the combat styles are concerned. And then we're going to put on our tinfoil hats and do a little speculation towards the end and come up with some crazy theories about what I think may be going on in the future. The intro footage you're watching is my Jedi Guardian with the Vigilance spec on live servers right now. So we're going to show this during the intro. This is going to be relevant because this is what I tried. This is the spec I tried with the Jedi Guardian on PTS that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. I'm actually more familiar with the Sith Juggernaut in the mirror spec of this, but for Jedi Guardian it plays the same. The abilities are just named different and some of the animations are different. This is reliant on some dots and then a tactical that makes those dots tick for extra damage overall. So this is what we're going to be comparing one-to-one to what's available on the test server right now. Once we get to that footage, you're going to see me running around on a Jedi Guardian on the test server. Pay attention to my action bars, how full they are, how many abilities they have, and we're going to compare that to what's currently available on the PTS for the Jedi Guardian. But before we get too deep into that, let's talk about what combat styles actually are, as there was a lot of confusion during the initial announcement on the live stream. Including myself, I was confused exactly what was going on with that. My initial interpretation of what was happening is not actually what is happening. And a lot of folks came away from that stream going, what was that? So we're going to look at some pretty pictures for a couple of minutes and have a little talk about what combat styles are, how they're going to affect your gameplay, how they're going to affect the story that you see and the combat that you partake in along the way. And then we'll move on and let's take a look at what they have currently on the servers. All right, pretty picture time. Let's go ahead and get this disclaimer out of the way right now. This is the announced plans for the expansion going forward, but everything you see from this point forward is subject to change between now. It is July 15th, 2021. Something changes between now and the launch of this expansion. Subject to change. Everything here subject to change. Especially considering the state of things on the PTS right now, but I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. Let's clarify what combat styles are, shall we? So first of all, you got to eliminate your previous thought of what classes are in Star Wars The Old Republic. When you're looking at the traditional classes of Jedi Knight, Jedi Consular, Sith Warrior, Sith Inquisitor, Smuggler, Trooper, Bounty Hunter, and Imperial Agent, those are no longer classes. Those are stories. So when you're first choosing a brand new character, when you're making a brand new character in the game, once this expansion goes live, you've got, first of all, one of two choices. Either you're going to play a Force user or you're going to play a tech character. You're choosing between Force and tech. And of course, if you're Force, you're going Knight, Consular, Warrior, Inquisitor. If you're going tech, you're going Smuggler, Trooper, Bounty Hunter, Imperial Agent. But Troy, I hear you say, you just named off all the classes in the game, all the base classes in the game. Nay, not anymore. Those are not considered base classes of the game anymore. When you choose one of those 8 things, if you're a Force user, if you choose Jedi Knight, all you're choosing at this point is the story of the Jedi Knight. You're choosing your story with these options here. What used to be the classes, you're just choosing which story you want to see. That's the only thing you're choosing right now. If you choose the Sith Juggernaut, you're going to see the story of the Sith Juggernaut. If you choose a Trooper, you're going to see the story of the Trooper. Now, where you're actually going to choose what you would traditionally think of as your class is going to be down here in the next tier in the combat styles. So since Jedi Guardian is all the rage on the PTS right now, it's the only rage as a matter of fact, let's say that we've picked a Jedi Knight. That's the story we want to see. We've chosen to be a Force user. We've picked a Jedi Knight to see the story of the Jedi Knight. Now we need to choose our combat style, or what we would traditionally think of as our class. So normally as a Jedi Knight, you would choose between Jedi Guardian or Jedi Sentinel. Jedi Guardian, of course, is a single lightsaber, has the ability to tank. Jedi Sentinel is dual wielding, all melee DPS. Except now, once combat styles come into the game, as is planned right now, you can be things other than that. As a matter of fact, you can be the advanced class of any Force user currently in the game. Let's say I'm a Jedi Knight, but I want to play as a Sith Juggernaut. I'm going to see the story of the Jedi Knight, but my combat style and animations are going to be Sith Juggernaut animations, name abilities, and so forth. Now they are talking about there will probably need to be some kind of dark or light alignment on the Force side of this. So if you're going to be a Jedi going with Sith abilities, you're going to have to go dark side to be able to access that. But that's not implemented right now. We're not 100% sure on how that's going to work, how that's going to affect current players in the game who are already aligned one way or the other and may want to switch. None of that's been clarified as of yet. What we do know is the plans are that you can play as a Jedi Knight, see the story, those voice actors, the entire story of the Jedi Knight, but play as the class of a Sith sorcerer shooting lightning from your fingertips, the whole shebang. The story will not affect your abilities that you use. The abilities you use will not affect your story, other than you're going to need some sort of dark side alignment, most likely, per the developers during the stream and the announcement of all this. And it works all the way around. If you want to play and see the story of a Sith Inquisitor, you can do that. You'll see that story, have that voice actor during that story. But you can pick any of these Force combat styles you want. Guardian, Juggernaut, Sentinel, Marauder, Sage, Assassin, Sorcerer, Shadow. Any of those you can play with the abilities of and combat style and animations of, while still seeing the story. And it's all the same on the tech side. Same deal. If you choose a smuggler, that's the story you're going to see. You're going to see the story and the voice actors of the smuggler throughout your leveling experience. But as far as what class you're going to play is depending on which combat style you pick. Combat style is simply all of the advanced classes that were available on the tech side of the game. So you can play a Vanguard, Power Tech, Commando, Mercenary, Scoundrel, Gunslinger, Sniper, or Operative as a smuggler. And yes, to answer that burning question, if you want to play one of the best stories, if not the best story in the game, the Imperial Agent, with all that spycraft and the backstabbing and the conspiracies, if you want to play an Imperial Agent and see that story, but carry around a giant freaking two-handed plasma cannon, you can choose Commando as an Imperial Agent. Carry that big cannon around and put it on the table when you need to let a motherfucker know that you mean business. So here we are with PTS footage. This is me running around on the test server where the Jedi Guardian combat style, and only the Jedi Guardian combat style, is available. And of course, along with that comes the 3 specs within the Guardian, one of which is a tank, and then there's a couple of melee DPS specs. As I said before, I'm most familiar with the Vigilance spec, so that's what I'm going to try. In this PTS, there's only 2 choices as far as the loadout you're going to get, as far as passives and stuff. They've just got A and B. And they're going to give you different choices as far as the choices that, as of right now, they're planning on having available when this expansion goes live and the combat styles go live in the game. Unfortunately, these are very, very limiting right now, at least. And while I was able to have a full offensive rotation, all of the passes and things that made this vigilance spec really work, along with the tactical that I'm used to using and the equipment that I'm used to using with this spec on live, a lot of those passives and things weren't there to make the spec really work 100% the way it's supposed to. As you can see, when I made the choice of which spec I want to test, my action bar was kind of filled up with abilities. I'm going to sort those momentarily. We'll skip to a part where I'm doing some combat and have the action bar set up similar to what I had on live. But you can already tell there's nowhere near the amount of abilities on my bars right now. Not even close. There is a bug on the PTS where you have to go back and talk to the robot that gives you the spec choice twice to get all the abilities, but even after going back the second time, it didn't actually fill up that bar, just the 2 bars there, much less all the abilities I had on the live server. And like I said earlier, offensively, I had all of the abilities that made a normal sort of rotation for this spec. It was minus a couple of abilities I'm used to be able to throw in here and there, such as saber throw, really missing that right now. But one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest complaints on the forums right now, as far as this particular PTS is concerned, is the sheer lack of defensive abilities. And it doesn't matter if you're choosing a tank or a DPS spec of this, where normally I had probably at least 6, 7 different types of defensive abilities. Now I've only got like 2, and some of the most useful ones for a DPS are gone, or at least not available right now, such as a Saber Reflect, where if I take damage, it reflects damage back. I literally just have a defensive ability, just a shield that absorbs damage that I would think would be more useful on a tank. So let's talk again about what we do know and what we don't know. What we do know is that BioWare does plan on pruning some abilities from some of these combat styles. There are a few repetitive, redundant abilities, some defensive abilities, some offensive. There are those things out there. We don't know how far in the long run they're planning on going right now, though. As of what's on the PTS, it's too damn far. It's too much. There's not enough utility, not enough other things you can do other than an offensive rotation. I mean, right now on PTS, we don't even have an interrupt. Surely that's not intended to be taken away from us permanently. Surely an interrupt is coming back to all of our classes, but right now we just don't know. We don't know what they really want to prune, what they want to keep. They're just putting what they've got out there and saying, hey, let us know what you think. And quite frankly, what is available just feels incomplete, and it feels pointless to test. As a lot of folks have said, once you get into the PTS and really get going, it feels pointless. There's nothing to test here. Like, I don't even have defensive abilities. Can I compare what my PTS character is to my character on live? I know I have the majority of my offensive rotation enough to make it feel like I have a rotation. The passives are missing that makes that rotation work, though. Some of the burning on some of the abilities that don't just come with them by default are gone right now for the Vigilance spec. Don't have an interrupt. I have 2 other abilities, though, like a force push and another like a little short stun that I'm using as an interrupt at the moment, but those have very long cooldowns and aren't really intended to be interrupts as much as other useful things. Like if you use force push, it resets the cooldown on your leap. Your leap can reset the cooldown on a Ren throw. There are different interactions like that you would normally use something like force push for. But as far as the current PTS is concerned, that's about all that's on there. It's just the Jedi Guardian combat style. There's no testing of the Jedi Knight with another combat style from like the Sith side, anything like that. There's nothing on there right now. So this is it. This is all we got. Hopefully this is just very early in the testing period, and BioWare listening when people say, hey, you've taken too many abilities, you've taken too much utility from the classes. This is all feeling very dumbed down, very generic, and very, man, if you take many more abilities, it's going to feel like a mobile game at this point. Give us some stuff back, BioWare. We are MMO players on PC. We want to be able to do other things than swing our lightsaber over and over again. And we don't even know what the other classes are going to look like at this point, or excuse me, combat styles are going to look like at this point. There are other combat styles out there that are much more utility based. I have a lot more utility abilities than even a Jedi Guardian does. What are those going to look like? Especially if you're stripping out tons of utility abilities. What are those? What's going to set those apart from the next combat style? We don't know yet. We got to wait and see on that, unfortunately. So that's what's available currently on the PTS. That's all we've got right now. Hopefully more will be coming soon, and we can talk more about it and get closer to what it's actually going to look like on the live version of the game once the expansion goes live, once these combat styles go live. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of tinfoil hat territory. Ladies and gentlemen, speculation, 100% speculation, 100% theories that are out there, come from me, come from other places. None of this confirmed, official, have been said or even hinted at from BioWare, okay? This is all speculation about where some of this could be going. Let's have a little bit of fun for a couple of minutes. So one of the most pervasive theories that I've seen kind of out in the wild that has sort of the most possibility of being realistic is that all this pruning and dumbing down is preparing for a console port. And that's not to imply that console players need it to be dumb, but they do need it to be simpler control-wise and make sure everything can fit on a controller. So there's a theory out there that BioWare is getting ready to move this over to console. Is that a possibility? I mean, I think that's always a possibility, especially we've seen that MMOs can be played on consoles. MMOs can be popular on consoles. So I'd say that's never out of the realm of possibility for any MMO to make a jump to console. Is it going to sacrifice too much for the PC if they make that jump to console with Star Wars The Old Republic? As of right this moment, on the very limited, very limited things we have to look at on the PTS, yes, it's going to sacrifice too much for the PC player, but we don't know going forward that that's even the plan. So let's cover two of my favorite theories, things that I think may be happening here. The first of which is they're pruning all these abilities because several of these, of course, combat styles are mirrors of each other, right? There is the Guardian and the Sentinel for the Jedi Knight, but there's also the Juggernaut and the Marauder for the Sith Warrior. Juggernaut is the same thing as Guardian, except it's on the Sith side. Marauder is the same thing as Sentinel, except it's on the Sith side. They're exactly the same, other than some of the names are different, and some of the animations are different to reflect dark side and light side. Other than that, they're mirror classes. They're the same class. So if you're going to open up all of these combat styles to each character, and they've got all these choices, eventually you're going to want those to be different from each other a little more than just animation and sort of dark light style. So what could be happening right now is they're pruning some abilities to help differentiate some of the mirror combat styles from each other. Unfortunately, just taking away abilities I don't think is enough to differentiate those, if that's even what they're trying to do. Again, this is tinfoil hat time, conspiracy theories only from this point forward. So we're thinking outside the box here. They're going to have to introduce some new abilities, not just take away abilities, to differentiate these classes from each other a little more than what they are, if that's where they want to go with it. I would like to see it like that, especially when they're opening it all up. Like, all the Force users can be any of the combat styles from any of the Force users. I would rather two of them not be basically the same thing except animations. I'm sure for some people that's going to be a lot of fun to use the animations of a Sith sorcerer instead of a sage. But for me, I would rather those classes be a little different from each other if I have all those choices on one character. Man, all those S's. Struggling with that a little bit, but we'll get through this. So here's my last favorite theory. Conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, ladies and gentlemen. Reminder. This is all coming out of my head. This is no hints, nothing that BioWare has said or done. This is going to be the best way for them to finally, 10 years later, start introducing new classes. Of course, they will be introduced as combat styles. But before, if you were going to bring new classes into the game, you couldn't just pick like one, like the Jedi Knight, and give them a new class, because then everybody else is going, okay, it's been 10 years. they got a new class. Is it going to be like 50 years before my character gets a new class? So I think now that they've got all this, so there's only Force and Tech, now instead of creating 8 new classes, they can only create 2. One for the Force users, one for the Tech users. Is that going to happen in this expansion? No. Is it going to happen in next year's expansion? Probably more likely. Hopefully this is where this is going. That would be an upside to all of this, is maybe this is getting into new classes in this game because they can do just 2 at a time. They don't have to worry about the mirror classes and making sure all 8, base classes get a new spec to play or an advanced class to play. Just you have 2 combat styles, one for the Force users, one for the Tech users, and then you're introducing new classes into the game, new combat styles as they're going to be called, and it's a heck of a lot easier to do so. All right, tinfoil hats off. I believe I've rambled long enough. Hopefully part of this video helped explain to you what combat styles are going to be in Star Wars The Old Republic. It's simpler than it sounds, obviously. It's just hard, a little harder to explain, and they did a terrible job explaining it when it was initially announced. Hopefully this has helped cleared some of that up for you, as well as, man, what's on the PTS right now? Don't freak out too hard about it if you're hearing any negative things, and don't get too excited if you're hearing any positive things, but I don't think you're going to hear a ton of positive right now, other than combat styles sound exciting, but what's on the PTS right now is just incomplete. It's hard to judge anything by. It's really tough to compare one-to-one the PTS to what's on live, because it feels like we're missing stuff we should just have, like they've taken too much right now. So I'm going to bounce up out of here. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, MMO Bomb. Do so below. Hit the little bell icon to get notifications or whatever it is all the kids are saying these days. Also over on twitch.tv/MMO Bomb. Follow over there as well, because every Thursday I stream wonderful, wonderful games. And I'm such a great person and a great personality. You should definitely check it out. I play a lot of Star Wars The Old Republic over there Thursdays. So follow twitch.tv/MMO Bomb. You can follow me over on Twitter at Noobfridge. Thank you so much for coming by. This is what it is right now. Going forward, we will continue coverage over on MMOBomb.com, and maybe some more videos as more PTS starts rolling out, things for us to look at and test. Thank you so much for stopping by. We will see you guys later. I am out.